pain is going to happen. And that's just a fact of life. We know that. We can't avoid it no matter how hard we try. But the truth is, God wants to use whatever pain we're going through, whatever trials, whatever hardship, whatever traumatic experiences we've been through. He wants to use it to write a beautiful story. That's what this Bible is. This is a beautiful story of imperfect people. And God wants to write a beautiful story in our lives through the hard times, through all of those ups and downs, to show how good of a God, how merciful, how graceful he is, and how much he really loves us, and how perfect he is. And I love this verse in Genesis where Joseph addresses his brothers who sold him into slavery, who pretty much killed him, threw him in a pit, left him there to die because they did not want to take his life. And Joseph ended up becoming the second most powerful in the nation to the king, and saved his family and his nation from famine and from hardship. And this is what Joseph says to his brothers: "As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." And this is what God wants to do. God wants to use our past. He wants to use those stories that we're ashamed of. He wants to use those traumatic events that we thought, man, nothing good can come from that. Nothing good can come from such evil. And the truth is, God can turn around any story, and I've seen it firsthand in my life. God can redeem anybody. God can save even the prodigal son, to turn around. He just wants us to turn around and realize we are far off in the distance, but we have a loving Father that has a house full of rooms for us. Why are we out here trying to just like survive off of the muck and living with pigs and living with, in such a terrible way when our Father literally has a place prepared for us with provision, with all the things we need, where he treats us with love? And we don't deserve it. That's the thing. But he welcomes us back with open arms. But we won't avoid pain. Pain is going to happen. We live in a fallen world. This is what Jesus said in John 16:33. He said, "I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." So we don't have to worry about trying to figure it out on our own and go through these hard times alone, because Jesus literally overcame the world. He overcame every temptation, and he overcame death. And Jesus lives inside of us when we accept him. And he wants to do the same thing. He wants to help us through whatever we need. He wants us to want him and rely on him, because that's where our strength and power comes from. It's not from ourselves. And the enemy wants to destroy us through these hard times. A lot of hard times have come, but the reason I'm here today, breathing, living, as a living, breathing testimony, literally a miracle that I'm here, is because he lives inside of me and he loves me, and he overcame the world, so he told me that I could do that too. I can overcome my past. I can overcome traumatic experiences. I can overcome sadness, loneliness, depression, whatever it is. I can overcome that because the one that lives in me overcame everything, overcame all sins, all emotions, all pain, even death. So I can do that, and I will do that, and you can do that too. So don't let the enemy have his way. And sometimes these trials that we go through, they're tests. They're tests to show us that, one, we need Jesus. And also, it's a way for us to be refined into the person, into the man or woman of God that he wants us to be. We can't be refined if we don't go through the fire. We can't be refined unless we go through hard times, because hard times literally make us realize that it's not on our own. It's not our strength. It's not our own ability. It's all Jesus. That's the beautiful thing that comes through pain. And it hurts in the moment, and I know that for a fact. In the moment, it's not fun. It doesn't feel good. But there's a verse that says, this is Hebrews 12:6, "For the Lord disciplines the one he loves and chastises every son whom he receives." It is for discipline that you have to endure God is treating you as sons. He loves us and allows us to go through these things because for that simple reason, we are his children and he loves us, and sometimes we need discipline. A lot of times we need discipline, and we need to be refined and to be made into people that choose him and love him and follow him. And sometimes for those of us that are stubborn, like myself, it took hard times. It took the hardest times to get to that point. I'm thankful every time I go through a hardship because I realize it might not feel like it in the moment, but this is getting me closer to the man that God has designed me to be and that wants me to be. So I can walk in faith and joy throughout the trials. The enemy wants to use all sorts of pain in our past to bring us to a low place where we feel like we can never get out of. But God wants to do the opposite. God wants to bring us and use our story and use our past, use our experiences, use our traumatic, use our lives that we used to live and show how good of a God and how gracious he is and how powerful he is, that he can even bring us up out of such dark places, because really it's only by him. So that's all I want to say.